What could silence that voice? That scream, raspy, raw, and wild, that once shattered stadium ceilings and sent chills down the spine of rock and roll history. The voice that made you feel like the world was on fire, and maybe that was okay. For more than 5 decades, Steven Tyler didn't just sing, he erupted, he howled, he soared. He channeled heartbreak, ecstasy, rebellion, and truth all in one breath. He wasn't just the lead singer of Aerosmith, he was Aerosmith, a spectacle in scarves and sequins, a whirlwind of eyeliner, charisma, and soul, a firecracker with feathers. He gave us Dream On, he gave us Sweet Emotion, he gave us I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. And for years, he gave everything he had to every note. But now, the voice is quiet. Just as Aerosmith was preparing for the send-off fans had waited decades for, a monumental farewell tour, a final celebration of a legendary career, the amps were turned off. The tour was paused, and without warning, everything came to a standstill. Concert dates were canceled, the lights dimmed, venues went silent, and for the first time in years, the road didn't call. At first, the explanation felt simple. Routine even, vocal fatigue, nothing unusual for a frontman in his 70s. Just some rest, the band said. He'll be back soon. But behind that calm statement was something far heavier, something no one wanted to say out loud. Steven Tyler's voice, his signature, his weapon, his essence, wasn't just tired. It was damaged, torn in fact. Decades of pushing boundaries, of reaching notes few dared to touch, had finally caught up with him. The diagnosis was more than medical. It was emotional, existential. It wasn't just a strained voice. It was a piece of him falling apart. Because for Steven Tyler, performing wasn't work. It was life. The stage was his second skin. The mic wasn't just an instrument, it was an extension of his soul. And the roar of the crowd, that was his oxygen. So when doctors told him he may never be able to perform at that level again, ever, it was like losing a part of himself. Behind the scenes, friends and insiders described long, painful nights, sleepless hours full of frustration, fear, and denial. He tried everything. He wanted to heal. He needed to. He underwent weeks of vocal rest. He sought therapy. He explored holistic remedies, surgery consultations, every option imaginable. But every hopeful whisper led to another harsh truth. The damage was deeper than expected. Every attempt to return brought more pain, more setbacks, more silence. Eventually, he had to face the hardest decision of his career, to let go. The farewell tour, the one meant to be a victory lap, a celebration of a lifetime's work, may never happen the way it was envisioned. And perhaps the most heartbreaking part, he never got to say goodbye, not on stage, not in the spotlight, not in his way. But this wasn't about a band falling apart. This wasn't ego or infighting. It was something far more intimate, a man reckoning with his mortality, a family, because Aerosmith is a family, gathering in quiet solidarity. His bandmates didn't pressure him, they didn't plead, they understood. After decades of music, madness, and magic, they gave him space, not as musicians, as brothers. They stepped back with grace. And Steven, the wild spirit, the untamed, glitter-drenched, strut-down-the-runway frontman, he sat in stillness. For the first time in his life, there were no fans screaming, no lights flashing, no sound check, no adrenaline, just silence and grief. He wasn't just mourning his voice. He was mourning the thing that gave him purpose, identity, life. How do you say goodbye to the thing that made you you? No final note, no final scream, no encore, just the quiet. But maybe that's the most rock and roll ending there is. Because here's what they don't tell you. You can take away the tour, you can silence the stage, but you can't erase the impact. Steven Tyler's voice didn't just fill arenas, it lived in people. It was the sound of first heartbreaks, of road trips, of teenage rebellion, of getting back up after falling apart. It was chaos, beauty, danger, vulnerability, and it left a permanent scar on music history. Today, he continues to recover, privately, slowly, Whether he ever stands beneath a spotlight again, whether he ever belts one more note for a crowd, that remains unknown. But what's already known? He doesn't owe us anything. He already gave us everything. This isn't just a story about injury. It's about identity, about loss, about resilience, about a man who gave his body, his soul, and his sound to the world, and is now learning how to live in a world without that sound. And maybe, just maybe, that silence isn't the end. Maybe it's the final verse of his greatest song,